that you are not allowing them to be part of negotiations on, and you're also not telling them what you've agreed. How can that be right? Do any of you think that that's fair? Mr. Man in white t-shirt.
I saw an infographic about sometime last year about the amount you get paid for different things, really general thing. And the amount, I was about to share it, the amount more you have to do to get this number of streams. Shall I find it and give you some numbers instead?
By all means, yes. But it just seems to me that they should either let us in on the negotiating table so that we have a chance to fight on behalf of our artists, or they should be obliged to release the details, it seems to me. One of the only, well, there were several fun things we do in the Rugby Radio was a big deal, because for a time I got to go to every nice restaurant in London, because every record company and every venture capitalist was courting us. So I think I probably had more dinners paid for me than I've ever had in my life. But the other side of it, more seriously, was that I got EMI to open their books, because we wouldn't do the deal with EMI unless we saw exactly what they were making out of every single record. And it was, believe me, an eye-opener as to how much the record labels actually make on every single record sold compared to how much they pay the artist. And that was 12 years ago, before we had any of these online type deals. You found your figures?
Yeah, I have, yeah. It's about, it basically compares the amount of CDs and royalties and things you need to get a monthly wage of just under £1,000 to the amount of streaming you need to sell approximately, according to this anyway, you need to sell approximately 115 self-pressed albums to get this amount. I assume that's with £8, 12 going to the artist, but you need 5.1 million streams.
Yeah, but that's a breakfast show.
Is it? But on Spotify streams, sorry.
Yeah, I know, but you think about it in reach terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans' breakfast show gets that every morning.
Yeah.
So if you can convert those streams into payments, it's actually doable. But yeah, I agree with you. 115. Well, most artists sell their CDs at gigs for a tenner.
Yeah.
So by the time you've paid for the mechanical royalty, you are down to about 8.5, 8.4. So yeah, it is a lot of streams. But if you're making it, which I am, the analogy between that and radio, then if you get an A-list playlisting on radio, you are being paid to 5, 6, 7 million people, right? Now what Spotify is doing is saying, okay, we're going to pay you for every single one of those listens. I have no particular axe to grind for Spotify or Deezer or any of these guys. I mean, they are providing a service, but I don't think they are necessarily the bad guys that they are made out of. And whether they are or not, they're there to stay, aren't they? Yeah.
So I just, yesterday I found this article about Spotify as you're talking about, that they only pay artists regarding their popularity on the service. So if they don't get a certain amount of popularity, they're not going to pay them?
Every service, when it's really starting out, has to have what we call a de minimis, a minimum level. Because if you imagine the administration that's required, if everybody has only had one listen, that they've got to pay them, right? They can do it, because micropayments allow them to do it, right? But sensibly, you have to set like if you're earning £200 a month, we'll pay you, or, there has to be set a level. I suppose the argument is, what's the right level to set on that?
Yeah, but what about like new artists? Because it says, yeah, we're giving like a long tail and everything. New artists are going to have a chance to reach the world, but then they're not going to get paid. So they're
not initially, perhaps, but it could be seen as marketing initially, right? Why else would an artist put their music up for general exposure on SoundCloud? They're not making anything of that, but they are hoping that somebody will listen to it and like it, and it'll lead somewhere, and lead to their webpage where they can do a download. You know what I mean? It's kind of part of the marketing in those early stages, and maybe their next release goes over the limit with Spotify and they start earning some money. same with, say, a service like PRS, right? If you're doing live gigs with PRS, you file your set list saying, last night I did a gig and I sang these songs and these are the writers, right? You file your set list. Because PRS only does a sampling service, they don't take into account every single small gig that's ever played in every back room of every pub. They sample big, medium and small venues. If you happen to be lucky and on the night they sample, you're playing and your songs are heard, then you'll get some of the divvy out, otherwise you won't. So every service to some extent has that, that kind of, just for commercial realities they have to do something along those lines. But if you are not getting paid, at least you maybe getting some exposure on that. Yeah.
Just to follow on from that, I was managing a band in last year, and they were signed up to Spotify, and I think they got something like, I used to get an email, £1.60 a month or something like that. So these minimal payments were still coming through. I have no idea how many hits they had, but they had like one album up on Spotify. So clearly barely anyone was listening to it, but still they'd send through £1.60 a month. So it's probably the admin costs can't have been huge, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I had the same thing as well.
Yeah, I mean there are just programs now that can do micropayments like that. They've been around. There's been guys typing them on the business for about 10 years now. They're quite well established. So in terms of admin, they can do it. But I think maybe for commercial reasons, you might set a minimum payment. If you bank charges are often one of the reasons why they don't make very frequent payments, because if they're putting it into a PayPal account possibly, but once you're putting it into a bank, it's costing them to transfer it to your bank. So for example, in all my publishing deals that I'm doing for this independent publisher now, we're putting in we will not pay you every 6 months unless it's gone over £100, because it costs us 25 quid to make the payment. So we roll it to the next payment till it's big enough for us to justify the actual payment. So there are these kind of commercial realities in these things. So I finished that rant. I do rant, but I just feel very passionately that our music is being used and should be being paid for fairly. I am just waiting for the moment when an artist with big enough and deep enough pockets says, "Open your books."
What do you think of SoundCloud then? Because I wasn't making any payments.
I'm sorry.
What do you think of SoundCloud?
I see them as kind of almost like the success to MySpace in the sense of it just being. I mean, MySpace was music really. It was the music industry social networking site, if you like, until it got overran and didn't keep up with everything else that was going on. SoundCloud is, I think, a promotional tool. People I know use it to get feedback. They put a new track up there and they get feedback. Where I think the problem lies is when people rip tunes and put them up there that haven't been put up by the original artist. I work for Roisin Murphy, and an awful lot of Roisin's dance tracks get ripped and put up on SoundCloud within seconds of her, leaving the studio. And it annoys the hell out of her because obviously once it's out there, it's very, very difficult to get it back in and to control it. And sometimes we do put, cease and desist notices out and get them taken down. But in terms of an artist or an artist manager choosing to use it as a promotional vehicle, I think it has certain merits. Do you use it yourself?
Yeah, well, I listen to music on it,
Yeah.
but every time I listen to it, it's like the artist doesn't get paid. So sorry to listen to Spotify that everyone complains about that not paying out enough, and then SoundCloud pays nothing, and then it's not really it's not really an issue it's talked about.
I think it's below the radar at the moment because it's still our service, if you like. Once it starts trying to make money from ads or wants to raise more money from its backers and starts coming on the general radar, then I suspect it will get as much interest as is currently being directed at the Spotify's and the Deezers and people like that. I suspect, although we know all about it, it is still relatively low on the radar. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Interesting to see. You're right. Why doesn't that come under as much flack? I don't know.
And also, I would say to your question that Spotify, SoundCloud normally promotes like grassroots level artists and medium scale artists, and like none of the big guys have their music on. So well, some of them have, but like it's more like samples, more like just a short snippet of the song, isn't it? Because I've
Yeah.
looked for like.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's mostly remixes and stuff, but that's the same as little artists and Spotify.
Yeah.
Everyone complaining that they don't get the big artists get all the money and do that. So it's still the same argument.
Yeah. And don't forget that Spotify is owned, at least in part, by all the majors.
Yeah.
As part of the global, as part of the licensing deal to allow Spotify to play major label music, they had to agree a deal whereby the major labels own 5% of them. So there is also that kind of, they are much more part of the establishment than they would like us to think they are. And I also noticed that this weekend they're going to deal with the Times, so that the Times is now pushing Spotify like crazy at every opportunity. At the weekend, one of my clients was interviewed in the Sunday Times, and at the end of it, they were doing a whole series of like playlists of what that individual is listening to, and it was very interesting because the article was very nice and very positive, and they put the track listing, and it's very much an eclectic mix that this person is into, and they were very obscure tracks, and I read the list, and I thought, oh, there's one or two on there that I